All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're uncorking the story of Penedès, which is really the heartland of Spanish sparkling wine. Tucked away between the mountains and the sea in Catalonia, this place has a fascinating story to tell in every single bubble. So let's dive in and find out what makes this wine so incredibly special.
You know when you pour a glass of that crisp, elegant cava, what are you really tasting? I mean, it's obviously more than just fermented grapes. It's history, it's geography, and it's a whole lot of passion. So what is the secret behind Spain's most famous sparkle?
Well, the answer isn't some complex formula. It's a place. A really specific place defined by the warm Mediterranean sun, those cool sea breezes, and a winemaking tradition that goes back literally for millennia. So let's go there. Welcome to Penedès. To really, truly understand the wine, you've got to start with the land. This is ground zero. This is where the story begins. The history here is just incredibly deep. I mean, we're talking about Roman roots with vineyards planted way back in the 3rd century BC. Think about that. But the sparkling story, that really kicks off in the late 19th century, thanks to a guy named Josep Raventós y Facho. He was inspired by what was happening in Champagne and basically created the very first cava. The 20th century, though, was all about being tough, surviving vineyard plagues and wars. And now, here in the 21st century, Penedès is writing this whole new chapter, beautifully balancing that deep-rooted tradition with some really exciting innovation.
So what is it that makes this place so special for making wine? It all boils down to one powerful little French word, terroir. Just think of it like Mother Nature's secret recipe for a region. It's the unique combination of the climate, the soil, and the geography. And in Penedès, let me tell you, that recipe is truly one of a kind.
And Penedès isn't just one uniform block of land, it's this amazing patchwork quilt of different terroirs. Down near the coast, you've got the Baix Penedès. It's warm and it's just perfect for making these rich, full-bodied red wines. Then you move inland to the Penedès Central, and suddenly you have all these different microclimates, which means they can grow a huge variety of grapes. But the real magic for cava happens when you go up into the Alt Penedès. The cooler mountain air up there is the secret ingredient for growing the crisp, high-acidity white grapes that really are the soul of this sparkling wine.
So, as you can imagine, a diverse land gives birth to a pretty diverse cast of characters. And in Penedès, those main characters are, of course, the grapes themselves.
First up is Axarello. Okay, if cava were a building, Axarello would be the steel framework holding the whole thing together. This grape gives the wine its structure, its body, and that absolutely critical acidity. It's the reason the best cavas can age so gracefully for years, developing these incredibly complex, toasty aromas. It really is the backbone of the whole operation. Next up, we have Macabeo. Now, this is the grape that brings the life to the party. Macabeo is all about freshness, that balanced acidity, and all those delicate citrus and white flower notes that make cava so ridiculously refreshing and easy to drink. And to complete the classic trio, we have Perolada. Remember the Alt Penedès, those high, cool vineyards we talked about? Well, that's where Perolada thrives. This grape is all about elegance and finesse. It adds these subtle, beautiful floral aromas that just lift the entire wine, giving it a really delicate and sophisticated finish. Okay, so we've got the land, we've got the grapes, but how do you actually turn that trinity into a world-class sparkling wine? Well, let's take a look at how the perfect bubble is crafted. It's all done using the super meticulous, traditional method, yep, the exact same process they use in Champagne. It starts with making a normal, still base wine. Then comes the real art of blending different wines to create a signature style. Now the crucial step is a second fermentation that happens inside the bottle. That's where the bubbles are actually born. After that, the wine has to age, it gets slowly turned in a process called riddling, and then finally, the sediment is removed right before the cork goes in. It is truly a labor of love. Now, a hugely important part of that whole process is what's called aging on the lees. It sounds fancy, but lees are just the spent yeast cells left over from that second fermentation. As the wine rests on them in the cellar, it develops this incredible complexity. This is where those signature cava notes of toasted bread, brioche, and nuts come from. It's where the real magic happens. And that aging time is directly tied to quality. You can see it right here. A standard cava has to be aged for a minimum of 9 months. If you see Reserva on the label, it's been aged for at least 18 months. And for the top-tier Gran Reserva, we're talking a minimum of 30 months of aging. The longer it rests, the more complex and refined the final wine is going to be. But the story of Penedès isn't just about looking at the past. It's very much about looking forward and about facing modern challenges with creativity and a deep, deep respect for the land.
And look, the region is facing some very real challenges. You've got climate change bringing more heat and water issues, the global market is super competitive, and you even have urban sprawl putting pressure on vineyard land. But check out the solutions. Penedès is fighting back with a massive push towards sustainable and organic farming, a laser focus on premium quality, and the growth of what's called enotourism, or wine tourism, to connect people directly with the land.
And this isn't just talk, it's a real deep commitment. We're seeing this huge move to organic and even biodynamic farming. Winemakers are getting incredibly smart with water management. They're preserving biodiversity in the vineyards, and they're switching to renewable energy in the wineries. They're even researching drought-resistant grapes for the future. This is all about future-proofing their legacy. Which, of course, brings us to the final question. By weaving together its ancient tradition with this really forward-thinking embrace of quality and sustainability, Penedès is setting itself up not just to survive, but to thrive. So will its future be as sparkling as its past? Honestly, all signs are pointing to a resounding yes. So the next time you pour a glass of cava, you'll know you're tasting that entire story. Cheers!